Sonic Double Trouble Golden Books. After the story boringly wastes pages on explaining for nothing that's based on SAT-AM, somehow Sonic psychically has a feeling that something's wrong. So in this universe, he's got psychic powers. It wasn't even needed because Rotor tells him Tails got kidnapped right away. How did that happen? He can fly. He had no excuse for staying that close to the ground, far enough from Knothole that there even would be robots. I guess he got grabbed from a bush. Sonic's dialogue is stilted as he states the obvious. If there's no time to lose, he should run up instantly, and instead he races off in a Sonic spin, which would have him slowed down immediately. Unless he did that at the top of a hill. There's more pointless words, and he says the bees would know where Tails is because one of them saw him get kidnapped. A swarm of them lead him to a polluting factory, and distract the robots guarding it so the heroes can get into it. The robots would still hear the heroes getting into the factory. Robots would have better hearing. To keep Eggman away from them. Sally and Rotor both send Eggman a message that a different factory is in trouble, which I assume is a factory he has. How did both of them send him that message? If they took turns on the keyboard, it'd take longer. I guess the idea is it was Rotor's idea and Sally typed it. Eggman knows it's a trick because when he gets messages from factories, he's told which one it's from. I guess that's forgivable because the heroes haven't used his computer, so they wouldn't know this. I wouldn't have touched the computer there. They would have looked competent if the heroes were recognized from facial recognition cameras and a message got sent to them, but that's why they decided to go there. Bunny spots Eggman and warns her friends. It's smart of Rotor to use roller skates to move faster. He looks through a supply closet of spare robot parts that only makes sense if this was a factory for building robots. I thought it could be for anything. He plans to do something with technology. That's good. I wish the writer knew Tails could do that so he'd do it instead. After pointless words, Sonic sees Tails in a roboticizer and somehow he screeches to a halt instead of continuing on so that he could smack into it with its full speed. And he jumps into it anyways, with the picture not showing that be successful. But in the second page, suddenly Tails is out of the roboticizer without the story explaining how. And it doesn't even look damaged, and I don't see any buttons on it, or a control panel with an open button that wouldn't exist. But it must have been off screen. After padding, Eggman sees a fake Eggman who looks identical to him. Somehow Rotor made this thing within minutes. I can assume he had a bag of nanobots stored in his roller skates, so it's fine. And the conflicting orders from the two of them somehow caused the circuits of the robots to sizzle and stop working. At least there's an emotional appeal to that because Eggman deserved it. The fake Eggman argues with the real one instead of following Sonic, which I assume is to keep him still while the people without super speed get away. Later, Rotor asks Sonic how he liked his recycled Robotnik. It's never confirmed that the fake one was the suit he was wearing, so it was genuinely a robot. That's how overpowered he is. I'm left to assume that instead of Sonic going back to save him, he heartlessly left the robot to die and have his parts used by Eggman. So Eggman benefited from this. All the heroes accomplished in this was going back to square one by saving Tails, and then going one step back by leaving Eggman with some equipment for robots. In the classic game, Sonic would accomplish stuff by freeing animals from robots. So they should have saved some civilian as well. Sonic compliments his plan, and the heroes decide to go home instead of go to Robotropolis to do more to spite Eggman. I assume it's because they're hungry, so it makes sense. This story by Parker Smith was about Tails somehow getting kidnapped. It never explains how, so I was able to have the most believable assumption that a robot hiding in a bush grabbed him. So Sonic saves him in a way that's never actually explained, so I have to assume he pushed a button off screen. And Rotor sends a robot Eggman to Eggman as a distraction so the heroes could get away. At least that's new, but again, it doesn't explain how he made that so fast. So I'm forced to assume he had nanobots do it. I shouldn't have to do all the writing for the writer. This was so lazy. Tails has already been kidnapped way too many times. And Rotor impersonated Eggman in Archie's story. At least here it's more believable than him having tons of costumes as big as himself immediately at the ready, even though he had nowhere to store them. And all of the characters were likable. As usual, the main problem was the pacing. There were too many pointless words, so it was a little boring.